Welcome to the Truckers Network radio show on tncradio.live, where we offer the news, weather, traffic, sports, information, and entertainment our commercial drivers want to hear. I'm your host, Shelley Johnson. Speaking of entertainment, who doesn't love good music? If you love old-time rock and roll, classic rock, and R&B, you'll love the Nieds Hotel Band. They began as a recording studio group and evolved into a Pittsburgh sensation. Much of this originated with the guidance of a member of Wild Cherry who's famous for Play That Funky Music. The Nieds Hotel Band has become the essence of the hardworking blue-collar muscle that's made Pittsburgh, and their music appeals to the hard workers of America. NHB is popular with everyone who's heard them. They're very supportive of commercial drivers as well as charities. They're much loved by crowds that clamor to see them in the Pennsylvania tri-state area. They even had an official holiday named in their honor by the mayor of Pittsburgh. The Nieds Hotel Band was voted Pittsburgh's best bar band in the 2016 Pittsburgh Magazine Readers Poll. They've also been called the E Street Band of Pittsburgh. With me today is the lead singer and band founder, John Vento. Thank you for being with us, John. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate you reaching out to us.
So I thought that maybe we could talk a little bit about your band for those who aren't familiar. You've got some great music, a fantastic sound. I love your vibe. I can see why you're popular in Pittsburgh. You really get people up and moving. Your music's great. How would you folks describe your music?
Well, first of all, we're old guys. So, I don't want to give you my age, but let's just say I'm over 30.
Okay.
So our music and our music influence is rock and roll, classic rock, and R&B. R&B, especially from the Motown era.
Okay.
And all joking aside, we all kind of grew up in the late 60s and 70s, and that was the influence that we had. All that whole era, great music.
And that's what's so lost today. People are just craving that music. I mean, that's just classic foundation. I mean, it's the foundation of rock and roll and R&B. It's the history of America.
Well, it's funny you say that because I just today learned that Bruce Springsteen is releasing an album of all R&B cover songs from the 60s. And, I give him credit. I think he's right on the edge of what's happening. And also young performers like Bruno Mars are going back to that music.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see a giant resurgence.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of the old phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They try to improve
absolutely.
on something. And how do you improve on classic music?
Well, here in Pittsburgh, we have a guy that lives here. His name is Smokey Robinson.
Ooh, sweet.
And Smokey has a lot of friends, and he married a woman from Pittsburgh. And, he is the foundation of soul and really wrote a significant amount of those great Motown classics. And it just comes from blues, it comes from R&B, it comes from gospel, It comes from the soul. It's deep.
It really did. It's amazing when people really sit down and read the history of how all of the music evolved. It is the essence of America.
Yep, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get started? I understand you were a studio band to begin with.
Well, the Nieds Hotel, yes. Initially, I had some song ideas, and I was working with all session players. And one of those session players was a great drummer named Ron Beidel. And you would know Ron because he was in a band called Wild Cherry, Play That Funky Music.
Oh, yeah. Sweet.
Right. So Ronnie was in 1976, he was barely 21 years old. And Wild Cherry at that time was a hard rock band playing Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin music.
Yeah.
And they started watching their audiences decline, and they were a working band. So they went into a studio in Ohio, and on a whim, they recorded Play That Funky Music. Of course, I don't think they ever dreamed what it would become. To this day, it's the number one ringtone on Verizon cell phone service.
That's great. I hope they're getting royalties for it.
Well, the writers are, of course. Sadly, Ronnie passed away 3 years ago, unexpectedly. But he was my session drummer, and after a couple albums, he basically said to me, "Hey, I like your stuff. Let me put a band together for you." So when Ron Beidel, who's not only a fabulous musician, but he was even a more fabulous dude and a great guy, a hands-on, down-to-earth kind of guy. When he calls musicians, you get the best. And that's how the Needs Hotel Band started as a performing outfit. And that was probably, oh goodness, probably about 15 years ago now.
I know our listeners want to hear some of your music. Let's listen to one of your signature songs. This one's called Down to Memphis.
We was laying it down on a Saturday night in the service of the groove. In walked Moondog, said, "Boys, you gotta blow this scene. Time to make your move. Take this band down to Memphis. Turn your life around. I know that when you walk where the big boys rocked, you're gonna find your sound." Packed the van and drove all night toward the palace of the king. Graceland, a man, a hip swaying blues singing troubadour from Tupelo, Mississippi. Yeah. Gonna take this band down to Memphis. Wanna turn my life around. You know I wanna rock where the big boys walked before they put me in the ground. Groove me, soothe me, baptize me in sweet soul music. Rock me, roll me, anoint me with Mississippi. We was pumping it out on a Saturday night in some Blue Street dive. In war, Moondog said, "Don't you feel the spirit of the blues music everywhere? Man, I feel so alive." Took this band down to Memphis, turned my life around. When Moondog gave the sign, I left it all behind. Gonna rock until I die. Took this band down to Memphis, turned my life
awesome song. I dig those vibes. That had to have been just terrific to work with somebody from Wild Cherry. From that kind of a beginning. I mean, it's a winner right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's intimidating also for a guy like me because at that time I wasn't really experienced in studio work and songwriting, and even to this day I collaborate a lot with different people. And but like I said, I learned that the greater the musician, the nicer person, and they were so encouraging, and it's just been a blessing. And here we have this band, the Nieds Hotel Band, and we love each other, we support each other, and we enjoy creating music together.
You had some great mentors and champions along the way. That's really what
Yeah,
it's about too.
I'm truly, the Lord has blessed me in that regard. Truly.
So who's in your band? You've got quite a few people.
Yeah, we're a 7-piece band. I'm the lead singer, but we have a lot of other voices. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago, I had multiple vocal cord surgery, so I was out, and it was horrible.
Ooh.
And we brought in a drummer named Greg McEltrott, who is a great vocalist and a great drummer. On bass, we have Eugene Perry, who, by the way, is a professional opera singer.
Oh, how cool.
He toured the world in opera. Years ago, he lived in France.
So does he do rock and roll arias?
No, he's a bass player. He doesn't sing with the band. He just says, but he's a fine bass player. And we've got 2 great guitar players. Tim Hadley is primarily our lead player and is really our musical director. And he's written and produced most of the original stuff. Jim McCullough is our other guitarist. We have Fred DeLue on keyboards. Mm-hmm. Fred's been around a long time. He years ago toured with the great Roy Buchanan, the great blues guitarist. Mm-hmm. And on tenor sax, we have Ed Johnette. So, all these cats are old pros. They still rock. We still put it out.
And people love it. I bet you pack the place.
Well, sometimes we try to. We've had some great shows through the years. And then we've had, for whatever reason, whether it's timing or venue or whatever, we've had our share of, of boners too, if you will, of disappointments.
Sure, that happens.
Yep.
So are you a touring band or are you primarily in Pittsburgh?
We're regional.
Okay.
So Central PA, Western PA, West Virginia, and Ohio. We are not a touring band, even though, 3 of the 7 guys are professional musicians. Mm-hmm. And the rest of us, including me, all have day jobs.
Okay.
But, as time goes by and you retire from those day jobs, then it gets a hell of a lot easier.
Sure it does.
As retirement comes around, that gives us a lot more freedom.
Oh, sure it does. What do you do during the day?
Oh, I'm kind of in the world of warehousing and distribution and office furniture, decommissioning of office buildings, which nowadays is occurring quite frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
with remote working. Yeah.
Oh, it's just amazing. But, when you mentioned to me that your station goes out to truckers all over the U.S. and Canada, it's a real honor for me to be here because truckers are part of my daily life here at our warehouse and in shipping furniture and items across the country. And, when they come to our facility, we try to treat them with nothing but respect and love. I don't know how those guys do it. They are amazing.
And our listeners are going to love that because they don't always get the respect they deserve.
Well, it's funny. I could tell that when they come up to our dock and I tell our guys, hey, offer them a cup of coffee, offer them water, offer them a seat, a break, a smile. You can just sense that they're not always treated that way.
Yep. Oh, there's places they go where they can't use the bathroom, things like that,
That doesn't happen here at our little company, CIS here in Pittsburgh. It's the exact opposite. They're part of our family when they arrive.
That's good to hear. What's the name of your company again? Because I'm sure they want to know.
Yeah, it's CIS Office Installers in Monroeville, PA, right out of Pittsburgh.
Excellent.
And if any of the guys are listening and they've been to CIS and haven't been treated with kindness, respect, and hospitality, they can look me up because I'm right here in the office, John Vento. And trust me, we will deal with that accordingly.
You'll fix the problem. That's
Yes,
excellent.
I will immediately. It's real simple.
That's wonderful. And drivers love when companies and organizations appreciate them because let's face it, if you got something, no matter what it is, including food, it came by truck.
Yeah, that would be 100% of everything.
Yeah, it really is. And most people don't think that way, but we're trying to educate them here at tncradio.live for sure. We're going to have to take a short break here to pay the bills, but we'll be back. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on tncradio.live. I'm speaking with John Vento, the founder of the Nieds Hotel Band. Stay tuned for more coming up. tncradio.live is proud to carry the Steve Summers Overnight Drive Show. tncradio.live is dedicated to commercial drivers. We offer the news, traffic, and weather you need, and the entertainment, sports, talk, music, and celebrity interviews you want to hear 24/7. We have original shows and trucker podcasts that feature some of your favorites, like Ice Road Alex Debogorski and America's Truckin' Sweetheart Marcia Campbell. tncradio.live is convenient and designed for professional drivers. The best part is we're free, and you can listen anywhere you are on the road. With just one tap, you can tune into Steve Summers and us right on your phone. Simply download our app by going to app.tncradio.live. That's app.tncradio.live. Did you know that 80% of America's communities rely on trucking alone to deliver their goods? The trucking industry keeps America running thanks to the 3.6 million professional truck drivers traveling over 300 billion miles a year. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, tells the story of trucking and its positive impact on our economy, communities, and lives. Learn how you can be part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting truckingmovesamerica.com. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show here on tncradio.live. I'm your host, Shelley Johnson. I'm talking with John Vento, the founder and lead vocalist for the Nieds Hotel Band, voted the best bar band in Pittsburgh. They perform classic rock, old-time rock and roll, and R&B. There isn't much they can't do, and their sound is just fabulous. I know our listeners are going to want to know a little bit more about John's background and how all of this incredible music began. I was wondering, who were your mentors and music icons growing up? Did you always want to play what you're playing and do what you're doing?
I never dreamed I'd be in music. I loved music, and I loved, I mentioned Motown, of course. I grew up just my mother's family were all musicians or gamblers or both.
Okay.
So none of them really ever worked in their life, as my dad would say. But it was, but no, I never really, this is all quite accidental for me and a real dream come true. But the guys and the music that I loved ranged from, harder rock bands like Rush and Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Smokey Robinson, and Marvin Gaye is one of them. God, I wish I had a voice like that. But I can single out one person who is my musical and humanitarian idol, and that's Harry Chapin.
Oh, yeah.
Because of his music, of course, but more importantly is he was just the real deal with his charitable efforts, philanthropy, and he just, there's so much that he did that we could spend an hour on that subject, but, primarily known for forming the World Hunger Council. He helped the poor. He helped the working poor. Mm-hmm. It was just, he's my guy.
I was fortunate enough to see him on stage, and he was so gracious with the audience. He went long and beyond how long he was supposed to play, and you don't always experience that with musicians. It was wonderful.
I believe it or not, in 1981, it would have been June of 1981, and I actually sat next to him on a flight from New York to Detroit, Michigan. he was going there for a show, and here I am sitting right next to Harry Chapin.
Wow.
Um, and I remember distinctly. I said to him, I said, "You look a lot like Harry Chapin," and he said, "Yeah, I get that all the time." He said, "Because that's my name." I went, "Oh," one of those things. Couldn't have been a more kinder, gentler soul. And I'll tell you what I distinctly remember. The flight was just horrible, and I was a mess. The plane's hitting turbulence, and he was a cool dude, and he puts his hand on my knee and he says, "Hey man, relax. We're a lot safer up here than we are down there." And a month later, almost to the day, he was killed on the Long Island Expressway in a car accident.
Oh, wow.
Pretty a haunting statement from him.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
you were talking about his charitable deeds, and you really admired that. I understand your band does a lot of charity work too.
Yeah, we do. We have our fair share of charity concerts and different organizations that we support. We are intimately involved with a group here in Pittsburgh called Band Together Pittsburgh. And at Band Together, we create music programs for people on the autism spectrum, supporting musicians. We have open mics. We have DJ programs, drum circles. We just do all kinds of things to use music as a force for good, impacting people that are on the autism spectrum.
That's wonderful. Well, music is very therapeutic. At one time, I play piano and I sing, and I had wanted to be a music therapist. In my previous life. I never ended up becoming one, but I know music is extremely therapeutic.
Oh, Shelley, I could tell you so many magical stories. I mean, I'm talking about nonverbal autistic people that get involved with music, and their whole personality transforms to a level that you wouldn't believe. And we get to see that magic all the time.
That's great. You bring them out of their shell. Is there a particular genre of music that they respond to more, or that probably is a matter of personal preference?
It is, but you'd be surprised what we were just talking about. When we have our open mics and the kids come up and they sing and they play and they dance, it's mostly old school. It's classic rock. It's Motown. It's Billy Joel. It's Bruce Springsteen and Bob Seger.
Wow.
It really is. I mean, we've got a young band here in Pittsburgh. I think the oldest kid in the group is like 25, and they play Heart and Led Zeppelin and George Thorogood, and it's crazy. That's the music they gravitate toward.
Cool stuff. They've got good taste.
Absolutely, 100%.
And speaking of great music, you submitted some music for me to play during our show here, and I wanted you to elaborate a little bit about some of these songs. We have The Day the Lady Cried, New Mexico Way, She Drove Me to the Poorhouse, Down to Memphis, 4 different songs. I like She Drove Me to the Poorhouse.
I haven't even released that one yet. That's funny. Everyone that knows loves it.
So that's a new one. Very cool. It's got a very retro 1950s rock vibe, I think, with maybe a little Elvis influence in there.
Oh, of course. I forgot to even mention Elvis. That's truly the king.
Yeah, and
I don't even put him in the same breath as the others. He is the king.
Yeah, and I love.
Did you see the new movie?
No, I haven't.
The Elvis movie. Oh, it's fabulous.
I should check that out. I'd heard about it, and then I got busy doing something. But thank you for reminding me.
It's on HBO. It's online now. Okay. It was in the theaters. But She Drove Me to the Poorhouse was actually a gift. A friend of mine who's blind went through a rough relationship thing, and actually, it's a true story. He had a woman in his life that's nothing against women. We love them, but I guess she spent like crazy, and he came out of this thing broke.
Wow.
So he came up with the line, "She drove me to the poorhouse and I'm paying for the gas."
I love that. I was going to mention that is classic. I love it.
So he, through mutual friends, he found me, and he knew I was recording a lot, and we tweaked it, and that's how we came up with it.
It really is a great song. Let's listen. to She Drove Me to the Poorhouse.
Well, she drive me to the poorhouse, and I'm paying for the gas. The only thing that I got left are the clothes on my back. She got hers laying down the drain, fancy cars and all them things. She drive me to the poorhouse, and I'm paying for the gas. Boys, let me tell you about a girl I know. I'm sure you met her before. She's the one who spends all your money, makes you so damn poor. In the car, buying your house, give her money for a raccoon now. She drive me to the poorhouse, and I'm bleeding for gas. Well, she drive me to the poorhouse, and I'm paying for the gas. The only thing that I got left are the clothes on my back. She got hers laying down the brains, fancy cars and all them things. Drive me to the poorhouse, and I'm paying for gas. Give you an inch, but you took a mile. Now you got me dead ass broke. All you do is smile.
I got furs and diamond rings, fancy cars and lots of bling. Welcome to the poorhouse, and I'm having me
She drive me to the poorhouse.
and paying for the gas.
The only thing that I got left,
Put the clothes on your back,
she got hers laying down the brains.
fancy cars and lots of bling.
Drove me to the poorhouse.
And you're paying for the gas.
She drove me to the poorhouse.
And you're paying for the gas.
Well, she drove me to the poorhouse. She could kiss my back road ass.
I'm sure there are a lot of guys who can relate. And that's one of your new songs off your new album. When is that song going to drop?
2 months,
Okay.
but you can feel free to play it because it is mastered, it is finished.
Wonderful. So
And,
we're giving everyone a sneak peek, if you will. This is great.
Yeah.
It really is an honor to debut your new songs. I appreciate it, John. We do have to go to commercial break here, but we're going to have more music and more great conversation with John Vento. Stay tuned right here on the Truckers Network radio show on tncradio.live. The trucking industry keeps America running thanks to the 3.36 million professional truck drivers who deliver everyday goods to 80% of American communities who rely on trucking for that last mile. The industry represents a diverse group with nearly half of drivers at 42% as minorities. Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, educates the public on the essentiality of trucking by telling the story of trucking and its positive impact on our economy, communities, and lives. Learn how you can join the industry movement by visiting truckingmovesamerica.com. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on tncradio.live. I'm your host, Shelley Johnson. I'm talking with John Vento of the Nieds Hotel Band, voted one of the best bar bands in Pittsburgh. We've been talking about music, both old and new, that they've got going on here. Some great stuff. Now, we have The Day the Lady Cried, New Mexico Way, and Down to Memphis. Which ones are which? Which one's the new one?
Well, Day the Lady Cried was recorded and released actually originally for 2011 for the 10th anniversary of Flight 93, 9/11, because we're only an hour away from the crash of Flight 93 from September 11th.
Right.
and they were having a 10-year memorial service, and they asked us to update that song and remaster it, and they used it at one of their events.
Okay.
So The Day the Lady Cried is a tribute to not just, of course, Flight 93, which is close to us, but that horrible day.
Right.
And, the day, the lady being the Statue of Liberty and the events in New York City specifically.
What an honor and a tribute.
Yeah, we're real proud of that track.
Mm-hmm. Let's listen to The Day the Lady Cried by the Nieds Hotel Band.
She stood in the harbor on a bright September day. The sun from the dawning began to warm her face, and her heart is fair. Trust is everywhere. Majestically she rose, her torch showed us the way. Everyone is welcome to a new American day, and her heart is good, comforting the world. Then a storm cloud gathered, day turned to night, with a sudden flash of thunder, power and might. She looked from the distance, a tear fell from her eye. It later came to pass, as the day the lady cried. As the darkness fell that morning and grew throughout the day, never had a warning, innocence gone away, and her heart is mad, fire in her eyes. A people all together, standing side by side, hopeful for the future, hopeful for the light, and her heart is strong. The battle may be long. Then a storm cloud gathered, day became night, with a sudden flash of thunder, power and might. She looked from the distance, a tear fell from her eye. It later came to pass, as the day the lady cried. Now let me hear voices from heaven, voices from pain. Those that paid so dearly surely will rise again. All those that love them, never let them die. Freedom that they cherished on the day the lady cried. Everybody sing it out loud. Voices from heaven, voices from heaven, voices from pain. Those that paid so dearly surely will rise again. All those that love them, never let them die. Freedom that they cherished on the day the lady cried.
The Day the Lady Cried. That is a powerful song. You've got some great songs you're sharing here, both old and new.
So that's an older one, and Down to Memphis is a little bit older also.
Yep, we featured that one. I like that song a lot.
And it's just kind of a bluesy thing. About 7 or 8 years ago, our keyboard player and sax player went to Memphis, and they were part of the international blues competition, and they finished third in the world with a little blues band that they were part of. So that song is kind of a tribute to those guys.
Excellent.
And then New Mexico Way was just finished this past spring. So New Mexico Way is new, and She Drove Me to the Poorhouse is new, and Day the Lady Cried and Down to Memphis have been around for a while.
This is a treat for our listeners.
Well, thank you.
It really showcases your versatile musical style. And it's the kind of style that everybody really enjoys. The classic rock and roll, R&B that everybody grew up with. And then some of the youngins are starting to go, whoa, what's this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The youngins like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. They feel it,
Well, I know that I've talked to numerous musicians who have said music today really does, when I ask them, do you think it sounds all the same? They're like, yeah, it really does. What's your opinion on that, John?
Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody, and I respect anybody that, even if they're creating it on the computer. First of all, country music is all formula, and I know it's huge, and I'll bet your truckers love today's country music because it's probably a little more rock and roll than today's rock and roll is.
Yeah.
But I'm not a country music fan of today's country music.
Okay.
It just strikes me as being very corporate and very formula driven.
Yep.
And I hope I don't sound like an old guy in saying that.
No, you sound
when
wise.
you think about, I'm sorry?
You sound wise.
I don't know about that. But, when you think of how unique and authentic Waylon was, and Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and those cats, they're so distinctive. Whereas now you turn on a country radio station and, it's one song after the next it actually sounds sterile to me. I hate to say that because they're great musicians. And then when you learn how they create the songs, they go in the studio and pump out 5 or 6 songs a day with the same guys. It just doesn't strike me as being very soulful.
And it's going to lack originality, I would think.
I think so, but they got the songwriters down in Nashville churning it out, and they're making millions and millions of dollars. So I guess that's a level of success that we all respect and would wish to get to. But it's, for me, it's all about being authentic and original.
And I think that there is a shift back to that. People are really starving for authentic.
Yeah, and have been for a while. When Johnny Cash came out with his last 2 albums, which, on the last one, he was basically dying. And you can hear that in his voice.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like the number 1 played artist on college radio for like 2 years. A lot of people don't know that.
No, I guess I had not heard that.
Oh, yeah. His last, Hurt is on that album. And God's Gonna Strike You Down. And Rick Rubin produced it. Oh, yeah. He was really something.
There was a studio that I did voiceover work with in Lansing, in Michigan. And they had the opportunity to work with Johnny Cash. And they said he was the world's nicest guy.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
That is how it's supposed to be.
And I think I've heard that said other places as well, in the media and so forth, that he was down to earth.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew a guy that worked with Paul Stanley of Kiss and just loved him. Said he couldn't have been more genuine and more polite and more courteous and more appreciative. And that is how it should be. We're humans,
Yep.
just like we talked about how to treat these truckers when they come off the road and they arrive at a warehouse to deliver stuff. They should be treated with respect and dignity.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're responsible for stuff coming through the door.
Yeah, for sure. They're responsible for our survival.
Yeah, if all the drivers said, to heck with it, our country would be crying within what, less than 72 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
I thought maybe we would get there this past year, that there might be such a situation like, basically what happened to those guys up in Canada, but I guess it never formulated here.
There was a rally that they did make their march on Washington, but things
Uh-huh.
didn't get shut down or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah. But they definitely got publicity and they were
Yeah.
trying to, convey their messages and so forth, which is the American way too. You can express your
Absolutely.
opinions.
Yep, 100%. Well, not nowadays. We're not allowed to give our opinions in a lot of cases.
Well, depending on where you are, that's true.
Mhm.
You get shut down and censored.
Yeah, what do they call it? Getting canceled.
Yep. And fact checked. But that's another discussion. So
Yeah, let's get back to music.
that's always a much better topic. Speaking of a better topic, let's listen to another one of Nieds Hotel Band's songs. This one's called New Mexico Way.
Better get back New Mexico way. Nothing to do, even less to say. Searching for a friend so far away. Settled up with my hopes and dreams, blown away by some tumbleweeds. Hoping we can reconnect again someday. Gotta get back, New Mexico way. Gonna live off the grid, just like them old cowboys did. Leave this rat race behind. Up in the mountain air, wild and free, thinking clear. This is where God comes to play. Gotta get back, New Mexico way. There's a cowboy in my soul, riding hard, breaking all the rules, like rock and roll. I see the sunrise at first light, watch the moon shine late at night as the stars heal broken hearts. Gotta get back, New Mexico way. Gotta get back, New
That's another great tune. John, where do people find you? Can they find you online and listen
Oh,
to
yeah,
your music there?
sure. And actually, they can download our music all they want because we put it out to the world. And when our music's downloaded, we ask people to consider a donation to Band Together Pittsburgh, our group that supports folks that are autistic. So we have music, the Nieds Hotel Band, and that is NIEDS, needshotelband.com, is where you'll hear a bunch of these tracks, more band oriented. And then I have my own website where I do a little more acoustic stuff and a little more um, stripped back, if you will. And that's johnvento.com.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Where do people see you live and in person?
Well, we have a full schedule on our website, but here around the region, we have a big show this Thursday night at the Pittsburgh Shrine Center. We're looking forward to a big crowd there. And then we play at a real famous blues club coming up called Moondog's Pub. And that place is world renowned for great original blues and rock and roll. And then as we move into November and December, we're actually going to have a big Christmas show this year. And then we wrap up the year with what we're calling the Eve of New Year's Eve. So we don't play on New Year's Eve when all the crazies are out, but we play the night before.
Good idea.
That's kind of a new tradition that we're starting.
I like that. And it's probably safer on the roads that way.
I think so. Yeah.
Uh-huh. 'Cause
So I think, does that make sense to you? Because I just came up with this, the Eve of New Year's Eve party.
I like it. Well, everybody refers to New Year's Eve as what, amateur night?
I'd say so.
People
Yeah.
drinking too much, getting on the road. It's like, uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yep.
So what is your website again in case people didn't write it down?
It is needshotelband.com. NIEDS hotelband.com, and then johnvento.com.
I hope that you get some new fans here with all of your music that we're going to be featuring, because I like your sound very, very much.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much. And it's so nice of you to reach out to us/me. And I'd love to keep in touch with you.
That sounds terrific. I would like some information actually on the nonprofit you're working with. They'd be fun to feature too.
Sure. I'd love to talk to you about it and have some of our people on. Can I give you that website so folks can learn about it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And that is bandtogetherpgh.org. bandtogetherpgh.org. And in a nutshell, we create music program to support people that are on the autism spectrum. And it has just been a blessing from the Lord, I can tell you that.
That's phenomenal. Thank you, John. This has been a pleasure.
Well, Shelley, I hope you have a blessed evening, and all those truckers out there, please be safe. And thank you for everything that you do for us.
And they appreciate that. Thank you too, John. I've been speaking with John Vento of the Nieds Hotel Band. Definitely check out their website. See where they're playing. Check out their music. Great stuff. This is the Truckers Network Radio Show with Shelley Johnson. Stay tuned for more right here on tncradio.live. Thank you for listening to another great interview on tncradio.live and the Truckers Network Radio Show. All of the material you hear on tncradio.live on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of tncradio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.